Imagine waking up one day with the unsettling realization that the life you've been living is not truly your own, that every decision you've made, every belief you hold, and even the desires that drive you may not have originated from the deepest part of who you are. Instead, they might just be the result of the expectations, conditioning, and unseen influences of the world around you. Think about it deeply for a moment. How much of your identity is a genuine reflection of your authentic self, and how much of it is a carefully constructed mask, shaped entirely by external pressures? How often do you feel like you're just playing a role, living according to a rigid script written by society, by your upbringing, or by the subtle fears whispering in the background of your mind? Today, we embark on a profound exploration of one of Carl Jung's most revolutionary insights, the idea that life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. But what does it actually mean to find yourself? Is it merely about gaining a bit of everyday self-awareness, or is there a much deeper, far more transformative psychological process at play? Stay with me, because as we uncover the hidden forces that shape your identity, you will come to see exactly why most people never truly find themselves, and how you can break free. The final realization we will discuss is the most powerful of all. It has the ultimate potential to shift not only the way you see yourself, but also the very way you engage with reality. Carl Gustav Jung was a true pioneer of depth psychology, a brilliant thinker who ventured far beyond the traditional, surface-level theories of the mind to explore the vast, uncharted, and hidden realms of the human unconscious. Unlike many traditional psychologists of his era, Jung did not believe that mental well-being was simply about adapting nicely to societal norms. Instead, he saw true psychological growth as a lifelong journey toward what he termed individuation. This is a complex process of integrating all parts of the psyche to become one's most authentic, whole self. But here is the harsh reality of our world. Most people never actually take that journey. They spend their entire existence trapped within a generic version of themselves. They live entirely according to external expectations, never once stopping to question whether the life they lead is truly aligned with who they are inside. They constantly seek validation from the outside world, falsely believing that happiness comes from approval, status, or fitting in. Yet, deep down in their quietest moments, there is a persistent, unshakable sense that something vital is missing. Jung believed that true life only begins when we stop running away from ourselves. But before we can talk about what it means to discover your true nature, we must first understand what prevents most people from ever doing so. From the very moment we enter this world, we are conditioned. We are instantly given names, cultural identities, and predefined roles to play. We are taught from infancy what is acceptable and what is not, what is rewarded with love, and what is punished with rejection. This conditioning process is so incredibly subtle and gradual that we rarely ever think to question it. We adapt to our environment, we conform to survive, and over time, we learn to suppress the unique parts of ourselves that don't align with expectations. Think back to your own childhood. Were there moments when you expressed yourself completely freely, only to be met with cold disapproval or criticism? Perhaps you were told to be realistic, to stop being too sensitive, or that certain raw emotions and desires were entirely inappropriate. Slowly, you learn to hide those parts away where no one else could see them. In doing so, you began to build a psychological mask, what Jung called the persona. The persona is the public face we present to the world. It is highly functional. It allows us to operate smoothly in society, navigate diverse relationships, and gain basic acceptance. But the danger arises when we identify too closely with this mask, forgetting the vast world underneath. Now, let's look at the other side of the psychological coin, the shadow. If the persona is what we proudly show to the world, the shadow is everything we desperately hide from it. It consists of all the traits, impulses, and desires that we have rejected, judged, or suppressed within ourselves throughout our lives, our fears, vulnerabilities, and even hidden strengths. Here is where Jung's insight gets incredibly profound. The shadow does not simply vanish just because we refuse to look at it. It doesn't disappear into thin air. Instead, it operates quietly beneath the surface of our conscious awareness, heavily influencing our automatic thoughts, our daily behaviors, and especially our sudden emotional reactions. The parts of ourselves that we reject manifest in highly unconscious ways, most notably through a mechanism called projection. Have you ever intensely disliked someone instantly, without fully understanding why? Have you ever been deeply triggered by a specific behavior in others that provoked an unusually strong, defensive emotional reaction within you? Jung argued that when we are violently disturbed by qualities in other people, it is almost always because those exact qualities exist unacknowledged within our own hidden shadow. But what if I told you that within this dark, ignored space lies the ultimate key to true self-discovery? The parts you've suppressed are not your enemies. They are the missing pieces of your wholeness. Psychological growth is completely misunderstood by most. It is not about eliminating the shadow or becoming flawless. It is entirely about integrating it. It is about looking directly into the depths of your own unconscious and facing what you have long denied. Because when you finally do, you unlock a profound, raw source of personal power, authenticity, and absolute freedom. This is where the real journey of your life begins. Are you truly ready to confront the reality of who you are, to break free from the comfortable illusions that have shaped you? Because what comes next challenges everything you thought you knew about your mind. Most people go through life firmly believing they already know exactly who they are based on surface labels. They define themselves by their name, their current job, their specific culture, or their past traumas. But Jung believed that within every single individual, there exists an infinite inner landscape. The key to finding yourself is never about constructing a brand new identity from scratch. It is about uncovering and reclaiming what has been buried alive within you. Have you ever felt a deep, unexplainable longing for something more, a quiet sense that a much greater, more expanded version of yourself is waiting to emerge? This is not a random trick of your imagination. This is the authentic voice of your unconscious mind, calling out to you. But before we can integrate these buried pieces, we must first confront them. And this precise point is where the vast majority of people stop. Why? Because facing yourself is deeply uncomfortable. It demands that you look at aspects of your personality that you have spent decades ignoring. It requires you to question long-held, comfortable beliefs, challenge your foundational fears, and sit directly with your unresolved inner conflicts. Think about how aggressively our modern culture avoids total silence. How often do we instantly distract ourselves with endless work, mindless social media scrolling, or constant entertainment? Anything to keep us from sitting entirely alone with our raw thoughts. This chronic state of distraction is not an accident. It is a highly coordinated defense mechanism. It is a psychological way of avoiding the heavy, deeper questions lingering just beneath the surface of our awareness. But no matter how much external noise we use to drown them out, these hidden aspects do not go away. They simply mutate and show up in unexpected, destructive ways, through chronic anxiety, constant self-sabotage, or a persistent feeling of being lost. Consider a clear example: the fear of rejection. Many people go through their entire lives absolutely terrified of being judged. They compulsively seek approval and suppress their true thoughts just to maintain a fake harmony. But until this old wound is brought directly into the light of consciousness, it will continue to pull the strings of their actions from behind the scenes. But when we finally face these hidden parts, they instantly lose their terrifying power over us. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to live completely without the paralyzing fear of external judgment. To speak your absolute truth without a shred of hesitation, making life choices based entirely on what resonates deep within your soul rather than what others expect. Jung taught that one of the most direct ways to access this transformative power of the unconscious is by paying close attention to symbols, self-reflection, and our dreams, which he saw as direct messages from the deeper self. But why do we repeat the exact same life mistakes or fall into the same emotional traps, even when we are consciously trying to change? Jung's answer to this was entirely revolutionary. He discovered that within every human being, there exist ancient, universal patterns, deep-rooted psychological blueprints that influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without our conscious consent. He famously called these primordial, inherited patterns archetypes. Jung argued that these archetypes are stored in what he termed the collective unconscious, a deep level of the human psyche that is fully shared by all human beings across time, inherited directly from the evolutionary experiences of our ancestors. These powerful, ancient forces shape our personal identity, our relationships, and how we view reality. Think of the universal stories told across every culture and history: the hero's journey, the wise mentor, the shadowy villain, the innocent child. These universal characters appear constantly in myths, world religions, classic literature, and our nightly dreams. They are not fictional inventions. They represent real, active psychological forces within us. Take the hero archetype. For instance, this is a specific part of your psyche that longs for deep purpose, that feels called to overcome massive obstacles and achieve a higher state of being. But this archetype never exists in isolation. It is always balanced by the shadow. In ancient myths, the hero must always confront the shadow monster before they can truly evolve. In everyday life, this manifests as the intense, exhausting internal battle between your highest aspirations and your deep-seated habits of self-doubt and self-sabotage. The fatal mistake most people make is trying to forcefully suppress the inner struggle instead of actively understanding it. True transformation only happens when we learn from these opposing forces. Beyond the hero and the shadow, Jung mapped other monumental internal forces, such as the anima and animus. He realized that within the psyche of every man lies a hidden feminine energy, the anima, and within every woman lies a hidden masculine energy, the animus. This is not about physical gender, but about the crucial balance of internal psychological energies. The anima represents intuition, deep emotion, creativity, and a fluid connection to mysterious unconscious. The animus represents sharp logic, clear structure, intense discipline, and external assertiveness. When these two opposing energies are consciously embraced and balanced within a person, they experience a profound, unshakable sense of psychological wholeness. This brings us to the final, most disruptive illusion of all, the illusion of a fixed, static self. Most people spend their entire lives assuming their identity is a rigid, unchanging entity moving through time. But Jung, along with the greatest mystics in history, understood that the authentic self is completely fluid, boundless, and infinitely greater than the labels we wear. Your ego is not the enemy. It is simply the practical part of the mind that creates a temporary sense of separation, saying, this is who I am, and this is what I am not. But when you stop clinging desperately to this tiny, rigid identity, you instantly unlock infinite possibilities for your life. You begin to see your dreams and instincts as real guidance toward wholeness. Finding yourself is never a permanent destination that you reach and then forget about. It is an ongoing, beautiful unfolding of deeper layers of truth. And here is the ultimate revelation of the journey. You are never actually lost. The vast, limitless self you have been searching for out in the world has been right here, within you, all along. Now you know the way. Thank you for watching.